Hello, this is Business 200, Principles of Marketing, Chapter 3, The Global Environment. We are still under Unit 1, which is Marketing in the 21st Century. And I realize, again, the last video was a little longer than I wanted, so I'm going to keep trying to make these videos a little shorter. So the global environment is listening to changing customer demands and monitoring your environment allow you and the firm to identify potential growth opportunities. And then here are the learning objectives. And we're going to skip this slide, but I'd love you to read it on your own. So the competitive environment. The marketing environment refers to the outside factors that might affect a company's ability to meet its marketing goals. The competitive environment includes the direct competitors and indirect competitors seeking to acquire market share and profits. The most commonly discussed form of competition is direct competition, in which products that perform the same function compete against one another. Also called category competition or brand competition. Substitute products are goods and services that perform very similar functions and can be used in place of another. Indirect competition occurs when products provide alternate solutions to the same market. The shift in consumers' desire to eat, drink, and live healthier is one of the several external factors currently affecting the marketing environment. Sorry, I forgot to switch the slides. So this is the one I just went over, and now I'm here. So this slide just shows an example of direct competition. And this slide shows an example of indirect competition. Unforeseen developments external to the firm can directly impact the success of its marketing strategy. There are 6 major external factors that influence the firm's marketing environment: economic, demographic, sociocultural, political, legal, and technological. The 6 major external factors that I just listed are here in this figure. All of these factors occur on both a domestic and global scale and affect an organization. Economic factors influence almost every marketing decision a firm makes. Economic conditions impact consumers' willingness and ability to buy products. Consequently, firms must create, communicate, and deliver value in a way that's appropriate for the current economic climate. 4 economic elements influence marketers. There's a gross domestic product, income distribution, inflation, and consumer confidence. GDP refers to the market value of all officially recognized final goods and services produced within a country in a given period. GDP per capita is often considered an indicator of a country's standard of living. The U.S. has the largest GDP in the world for a single country, with more than $19 trillion in 2017. In recent years, China, India, and other developing nations have seen the highest GDP growth rates. Lower GDP growth can also open up opportunities for marketers who anticipate the trend and modify their marketing mix strategy accordingly. When GDP declines for 2 or more consecutive quarters, it results in a recession. In 2017, the top 5% of the U.S. population earned approximately 36% of the country's adjusted gross income. Meanwhile, the bottom 50% of earners earn less than 12% of the country's income. Inflation is the increase in the general level of prices of products in an economy over a period of time. Inflation means an erosion in the purchasing power of money, can significantly affect marketing behaviors if prices rise faster than consumer incomes. Consumer confidence is a measure of how optimistic consumers are about the overall state of the economy and their own personal finances. When confidence is high, consumers are likely to purchase more. And here is a visual identifying the change in the mean household income in the U.S. for various household segments over the past few decades and current dollar values. Shifting income distribution offers marketers new opportunities to satisfy customer needs and wants at various income levels. Many companies, such as Dollar General, have thrived by targeting consumers with modest incomes. During the most recent recession, Louis Vuitton's marketing strategy involved raising prices and heightening its focus on quality. The result was additional sales to its wealthiest clients and thus higher profits. This figure illustrates the changes in consumer confidence and the subsequent change in real consumer spending over the past several decades. Note shaded areas indicate U.S. recessions. Hyundai identified and tapped into basic and powerful consumer fears to develop a strategy that sought to help consumers feel more confident in purchasing. This strategy helped Hyundai increase market share significantly. Its sales increased by 22%, while the rest of the auto industry saw declining sales in the years after the promotion launched. So demographics are the characteristics of human populations that can be used to identify consumer markets. They include things such as age, gender, ethnicity, education level, all of which influence the products customers buy. Typical demographic information is readily available from the U.S. Census Bureau and research firms such as Nielsen. According to demographic information, is essential to identifying and characterizing a firm's target market. Age plays an important role in how consumers process information. Demographics are the characteristics of human, I already went over that. This in turn affects what marketing strategy firms should use to reach them. Each year, the average age of the population of the U.S. rises, and seniors are the fastest growing demographic group. Baby boomers are the generation of children born between 1946 and 1964. Members of this generation typically possess two things that marketing professionals seek: disposable income, which is the amount of spending money available to households after taxes, and the free time to spend it. Millennials, or Generation Y, are those born between 1978 and the late 20th century. Millennials comprise over 75 million members in the U.S. and are the second largest generational group behind the baby boomers. Millennials generally have the greatest familiarity with and most use for digital communication, social media, and other forms of technology. And then marketers trying to reach this large consumer group increasingly delivers the message using channels like the internet that are the most likely to be used by this market. One of the most important changes in the U.S. in recent decades has been the roles, attitudes, and buying habits of men and women in the marketplace. Historically, female consumers were targeted for a much less diverse set of goods and services than men. Today, women take on the role of decision maker across a large and expanding variety of products. Female consumers now account for 85% of all consumer purchases in the U.S., including everything from cars to groceries to healthcare. 75% of women identify themselves as a primary shopper in the household. Female control over the majority of consumer spending makes them a target for marketers across products, and then highly educated consumers are more likely to be employed. Though the trend in the employment rate for college-educated consumers mirrors the trend for the rest of the population, their overall employment numbers remain low in comparison. Educated consumers are also likely to earn significantly more money throughout the course of their lifetime and comprehend an advertiser's message more readily, making them prime targets for marketing strategies. The ethnic composition of the U.S. population is changing rapidly. Projections indicate that by 2050, the Hispanic population in the U.S. will almost double to more than 127 million people, representing over 30% of the entire U.S. population. Asian Americans represent the highest income and best educated and fastest growing racial group in the U.S., thereby increasing their purchasing power and importance. The U.S. is moving rapidly towards greater multiculturalism. Ethnic minorities' purchasing power was $3.8 trillion by 2018. And then marketers already have taken basic steps such as advertising in multiple languages to reach out to different ethnic groups. It is projected that by 2035, the older adults will outnumber children in the U.S. for the first time in history. And here is a visual identifying the unemployment rate by education attainment. And here is a figure showing the changing and ethnic breakdown in the U.S. Whoops, right here. Note, due to rounding, percentages will not add up to exactly 100%. The society and culture we live in helps to shape our beliefs, values, and norms, which in turn define our tastes and purchasing habits. Sociocultural refers to the combination of social and cultural factors that affect individual development. One of the biggest sociocultural changes in the U.S. over the past half century has been the shift from a nation of primarily one-income families. The new sociocultural reality of busier families has created opportunities for firms to offer new kinds of value. The political climate of the U.S. can change the direction of the government policy quickly and impact how marketers position their products. Firms must understand how the changing political climate affects them and develop marketing strategies that will allow them to succeed under various conditions. However, firms need to be completely passive when it comes to the political decisions that affect their business. It's becoming increasingly possible for firms to impact politics. Here is an example of customer convenience. The legal environment within the U.S. continues to change, forcing marketing professionals to refine their strategies. Federal, state, and local governments enact regulations for two main purposes: to ensure businesses compete fairly with each other, and to ensure businesses don't take advantage of consumers. Of all the external factors, rapidly evolving technology arguably represent one of the most significant challenges, as well as one of the most significant opportunities for marketing professionals. Technology influences how customers satisfy their needs and wants, and the basic concept underlying all marketing activities. In addition to affecting how consumers use products, technology changes the way firms promote their products. In recent years, a growing number of consumers have abandoned the traditional landline telephone in favor of cell phones. This technology-driven change gives marketers new ways to reach customers. And here are some U.S. laws that are most important to understanding the marketing environment. And then Walt Disney World Resort uses technology to provide a more hassle-free experience at its theme parks. In 2013, Disney introduced Magic Bands, which are wristbands enabled with an RFID chip. Magic Bands function as a room key and park entry pass for guests at Disney parks. Important international considerations. Currency fluctuation refers to how the value of one country's currency changes in relation to the value of other currencies. A country's income distribution often provides the most reliable picture of its purchasing power, and a variety of tools exist to analyze the international marketing environment. For example, Google Analytics allows you to quickly see what countries visitors to your website are from, how many pages they visited, and how long they stayed on the site. The percentage of middle-class consumption in key Asian countries is projected to change in comparison to the U.S. over the next few decades. As you can see, the percentage of middle-class consumption in India may outstrip that of the U.S. by the year 2050. Marketing professionals must possess a working knowledge of the major trade agreements and organizations that could give or could govern their firm's interaction with those markets. The U.S. exports more products to Canada and Mexico than to any other individual country. The total exports year to date in billions of dollars across 15 countries is shown in this. The European Union is an economic, political, and monetary union of 28 European nations. The World Trade Organization regulates trade among participating countries and helps importers and exporters conduct their business. And then headquartered in Washington, D.C., the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, works to foster international monetary cooperation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, and promote high employment and sustainable economic growth and reduce poverty around the world. Global shipping firms like FedEx and UPS enable small manufacturers to ship their products to customers around the world. Consumer ethnocentrism sometimes presents a challenge to marketers and international operations. Promoting a product in a different way can overcome such challenges. And here's a professional I'd like you to read about, but we're going to move on from this one. Environmental scanning for a nonprofit organization presents challenges that for-profit businesses do not face. Those who donate money to a nonprofit do not walk away with a tangible product or benefit directly from the service. Instead, nonprofit marketers must convince donors to support the mission of the organization without receiving any direct benefit. And here is a visual showing the total giving to nonprofits in the U.S. During the recession that began in December of 2007, Americans reduced their overall charitable giving by over 20% from levels prior to the recession. The decline was far sharper than in previous economic recessions. And this shows a decline in state funding for a nonprofit university. Oh, and that is the end here. That's the end of chapter 3.